Hello, today we will be going over Chapter 9, which is the various Christian churches in Kerala. We will have a brief introduction and then review the Christian religion in Kerala, the Koonan cross oath and division, and the Catholic Church in Kerala. Here is some vocabulary and terms used in this chapter. Marthoma Nazranigal are the Marthoma Christians, also known as the St. Thomas Christians of Kerala, who received the faith from the Apostle Thomas. Koonan cross oath, or also known as the slanted cross oath, is when the St. Thomas Christians of Kerala took an oath against the Portuguese missionaries and severed ties with them and the Catholic Church of Rome. Pareyakutgar are the Syro-Malabar Catholics who remained in communion with the Catholic Church and kept the Chaldean liturgy after the Koonan cross oath. Putankur is the group that left communion with the Catholic Church and joined the Antiochian Jacobite Church. As you should already know, St. Thomas the Apostle came to Kerala, India in 52 AD. From 52 AD to 1653 AD, there was only one Christian church in Kerala, which had a direct relationship with the Persian Church and in turn was in communion with the Catholic Church. The Age of Exploration brought many European countries to India for trade, religion, and to increase their wealth. The Age of Exploration caused many conflicts and divisions in India, as well as in the Christian Church in Kerala. St. Thomas the Apostle preached the gospel in Kerala and established Christian communities and built churches in 7 locations. The people who joined these Christian communities were known as Marthoma Nazranigal. The Christian Church in Kerala had a direct relationship with the Persian Church. Through the Persian Church's connection, the Church of Kerala was in communion with the Roman Catholic Church and other churches. The Chaldean liturgy was used by the Marthoma Nazranigal. Thus, the Christian Church in Kerala was in communion with the Universal Catholic Church in liturgy and faith. The arrival of Portuguese missionaries in the 16th century caused divisions in the Christian Church in Kerala. The Portuguese arrived in Kerala in 1498 with the arrival of the explorer Vasco da Gama. In the 1600s, the Portuguese missionaries arrived in Kerala. Since the Christian Church in Kerala had maintained communion with churches of other places through the Persian Church, the Portuguese missionaries were accepted as Christian brothers and allowed to conduct services in the churches in Kerala. However, the Portuguese missionaries did not understand the Chaldean liturgy or the patrimony of the Kerala Church or its relationship with the Persian Church. The missionaries tried to impose the Latin liturgy and spiritual practices upon the faithful in the church in Kerala. The missionaries also prohibited the arrival of bishops from Persia. The tensions caused by the Portuguese missionaries caused the Koonan cross oath of 1653 AD. Since the Marthoma Nazranigal community had a deep, rich history and faith that started with the arrival of St. Thomas the Apostle in 52 AD, they did not want to switch to the Latin liturgy or Latin practices. Therefore, the entire Marthoma Nazranigal community took an oath against the Portuguese missionaries and severed ties with them and Rome in 1653 AD, and this was the Koonan cross oath. The leader of the Marthoma Nazranigals was the archdeacon named Parambal Thoma Kapanar, and he was made bishop by the Marthoma Nazranigal by 12 priests imposing their hands together on him, and he was renamed Marthoma I, and he was given 4 advisors. The Marthoma Nazranigal understood that making the archdeacon a bishop was invalid. The Apostolic Vicariate of Malabar, which was Roman Catholic, was established in 1665 for the Christians in Kerala, and Joseph Sebastiani was the first bishop. To appease the protesting group, Bishop Sebastiani ordained a native bishop. The Bishop Sebastiani ordained Parambal Chamdi Kapanar, who happened to be one of the advisors for Archdeacon Bishop Marthoma I. Since a native bishop was ordained, 64 of the 110 Marthoma Nasranigal churches fully accepted Bishop Chandi. 20 churches partially accepted Bishop Chandi, and 26 churches remained with Bishop Marthoma I. The churches that accepted Bishop Chandi continued to use the Chaldean Syrian liturgy and were in communion with the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope. The group that accepted Bishop Chandi was known as the Eparchy, or Old Group, and are now known as the Syro-Malabar Catholics. The group that remained with Bishop Marthoma I became known as the Putankur, or Putankur, or New Group. The Putankur cut ties with Rome and no longer used the Chaldean liturgy, and accepted the Antiochian liturgy and became known as the Jacobite Syrian Church. This was the first of many divisions that happened to the Christian Church in Kerala. The next few slides will be reviewing the Catholic Church in Kerala. The Universal Catholic Church has 23 individual churches. 3 of these churches are in Kerala. The 3 individual churches in Kerala are the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church, the Latin Catholic Church, and the Syro-Malankara Catholic Church. The Eparchy, also known as the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church, kept the ancient Chaldean liturgy and preserved communion with the Roman Catholic Church. In 1992, the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church was raised by Rome as a major archiepiscopal church. Mar Varki Vedeto was made head of the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church and also got the title of Major Archbishop. As an archiepiscopal church, the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church uses a synodal form of administration. There are about 3.5 million faithful in this church, and it is the biggest community among the Kerala Christians. The Latin Catholic Church in Kerala are part of the Roman Catholic Church, which has the patrimony of Saints Peter and Paul. In the 16th century, the Portuguese missionaries came to Kerala, preaching the gospel and introducing the Latin Catholic faith to Kerala. Through the mission work of St. Francis Xavier and others, many people were received into the Latin Church. The Latin Catholic Church and the Syro-Malabar Catholic Church were initially related, and many of the early bishops of both churches were missionaries that were sent from abroad. Later, separate dioceses and leadership were made for both. There are over 1.2 million people in this church. The Syro-Malankara Catholic Church is a 90-year-old church that is still on a path for growth. After the Koonan Cross Oath of 1653, there were several attempts to bring the Putankur back in communion with the Catholic Church, but none were successful until September 20, 1930, through the efforts of Maravanios. On February 10, 2005, Pope John Paul II raised the status of the church to Major Archiepiscopal Church, having autonomy and synodal council for administration, and Cyril Mar Baselios was raised to the head and father, or patriarch of the church, as the major archbishop. So in 1912, a group split from the Jacobite Putankur Church and became an independent church community called the Malankara Orthodox Church. We will be going over why this happened in the next lesson. An attempt of reunion with the Catholic Church, keeping intact the customs and religious practices of the Malankara Orthodox and use of the Antiochian liturgy were made in accordance with the Bishop's Synod of the Malankara Orthodox Church in 1926. Georgis Maravanios was entrusted with the mission, and the request for reunion was accepted. By the time the favorable response from Rome had arrived, many of the bishops who showed interest in the reunion at the Synod of 1926 changed their minds. However, Maravanios decided to reinstate communion with the Catholic Church that was lost in 1653. Maravanios, Jacob Mar Theophilos, Father John OIC, Deacon Alexander, and Mr. Kiliath Chaco represented the Church and were reunited with the Catholic Church on September 20, 1930, and thus was the beginning of the Syro-Malankara Catholic Church through the Apostolic Bull Christo Pastorum Principi. The current Patriarch of the Syro-Malankara Catholic Church is Moranmor Basilios Klimis Catholicos. The church has well over 500,000 faithful. Here are some questions to answer for next week. Explain the Koonan Cross Oath and its after effects. And also, which are the Catholic churches in Kerala? Please describe each of them.